Jerry Isaac Mallo, inventor and entrepreneur. Is he here already? Well, he's coming soon. Hi, Jerry.
Hi, good evening.
How are you?
Hi, good evening.
Can you hear me?
I'm doing good.
I can see.
Yeah, I can.
So, well, you're in Jos right now, aren't you?
Good evening.
Good evening. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I am. I'm in Jos.
Right, you are in Jos. I mean, Jerry, I only discovered you recently, and I must say that I am a fan.
Yeah, I can. I can hear you.
Yes, and I'm a fan of what you do. I mean, for those who don't know enough about you, everybody talks about you as the guy who made the car. You've been inventing from very young. You've innovated in very many areas, especially you've focused on agricultural inventions, machines for agricultural work. You also made the supercar. That's your passion on the long run, to make supercars. But in the meantime, you are doing something practical and useful for the situation we're in now, agriculture. And also you've invented a foot-operated wash station for COVID, as well as a ventilator. Yeah, a hand wash. And you've also invented a ventilator. I mean, that's a lot. So let's start this way. You got a scholarship to go to school in England, didn't you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I did.
You did. And you left before you finished.
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Yes. So you left.
Yes, I left. I left.
You left and you came back to Nigeria, to Jos.
Yes.
Why?
Hello.
Okay, hello. So they're telling me here that you are delayed because your Wi-Fi is a little dodgy. So we're going to don't worry, just say the network is bad. But what we will do, we're going to have to innovate now, is that when I ask the question, I would wait until you answer it.
All right.
Okay. So just tell me first about the the decision not to stay in university in the UK, but come to Nigeria to start your company inventing machines.
Okay. I think before I went to UK, I was sure of what was taking me there. I just needed to learn more, and I just needed to be exposed. I just needed to know what these advanced countries keep doing that keeps them ahead, that we Africans are finding it difficult to do. Basically, that's what took me to UK. So even before going, I had it in mind that I was going to just learn and come back to Nigeria. Adding to the fact, I find it difficult to perform in academics. In the classroom, I don't perform compared to when I make use of my hands. So schooling in Europe was quite difficult for me, as most of the things we did in the classroom had to do with the theoretical aspect, which I was not good at. I spent the whole night studying over and over. I studied extra hours just to see I understood everything, but I was still failing. So at some point, I just faced reality and just told myself, what will happen if I spend these lots of hours I spend learning things that I still don't end up being able to do? What will happen if I spend those hours on the things I'm good at already? So at that point, I just focused my whole attention on my practical skills. I visited companies wherever I had the chance to. I visited top engineers. I visited big firms. At some point, as a student, I did student jobs with different companies, and I never lasted long in those companies. I was just focused on learning and seeing what kept these companies moving. So till the point that I felt it was right for me to come back to Nigeria.
I mean, you came back to Nigeria, which is a different, the reaction from your parents and the community is a different story that we can tell some other time, because I could see that they were disappointed to start with. But then you zeroed in on manufacturing straight away. You started making products, agricultural products, tractors, you know, tillers, um, um, processors, and all of that. Why agricultural products?
Okay, just like you said, it was a total different story coming back. My parents didn't accept me coming back. My relations, my friends, everybody just kept feeling you are crazy. You are not well. How will you go out there and then come back? So at that point, I asked myself, what's next? I know I have the passion for cars. I just have, I derive a lot of joy from seeing fast vehicles. So what was in my mind was, okay, start making cars. And that was what I wanted to start doing. But cars, I saw that was not the need. It wasn't the immediate need of Nigerians. And to build those cars, I needed a lot of fundings to build those cars. So the next challenge was, how can I raise fundings to build those cars? So I was seeking for funds, and I had learned over periods of.
I'm sorry, you know, the Wi-Fi is not as good as it should be from that end, but Jerry will join us soon. I was telling the story about, you know, how it started. I don't have the visuals here, but I wish I could show everybody what you were doing. Please go on, Jerry. I was telling them about some of the work you are doing. If I could have shown them pictures of your inventions. Go on, please.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. At that moment, I had learned that to get money, you needed to solve problems. And in Nigeria, we have so many problems, so many problems. So it meant that making the money was not going to be difficult if only I could solve these problems. So I just looked around what was a common need in Nigeria, what was a problem in Nigeria, and I saw that the agricultural sector was still left so much behind. Comparing the agriculture in Nigeria with what I saw in UK, there was a vast gap between them. So I decided to pick mechanization in agriculture, and mechanization, I didn't see it to be a problem. I didn't see it to be a challenge. I had the ability to imagine. I think somehow it's a gift in me. If I'm able to imagine it, building it doesn't become a problem. So I felt that I could produce agricultural equipment. And adding to that fact, there are so many skilled individuals in Nigeria. There are so many talented teenagers, youth in Nigeria. But our system is just so in a way that if you don't perform academically, you're considered a second-class citizen in a way. If you don't have the A's or the B's from a university, it's like you are not a complete human being. I was really not comfortable with that. And back in Plateau, where I'm from, there are so many skilled individuals that I knew could build these things, but are not good in academics. So I felt, who am I now? I'm nobody. Of course, I dropped out of university. It means I don't have those qualifications. So it means the highest level of qualification I have is the secondary school certificate. And it also means that I'm on the same level with all those other guys on the street that just finished secondary school. So basically, I have nothing to show off. So I just felt, why can't we get jobs? We people that have those certificates. So if we don't have those certificates, does that mean there's no hope for us? If they don't want to give us jobs because we don't have those A grades, let's build a firm that will employ people who are good with their hands but don't have the qualification, but don't have those university certificates. So I went into agricultural equipment, and I started alone without any kobo. Remember, it's not like I'm from a family who had all the monies available. Somebody was actually sponsoring me to study there. So coming back to Nigeria, I was going back to the zero level. I went back to farming full time. So it's not like I had any monies. So all I had was just the knowledge I had and then the willingness to achieve it. So I spent all my free times, all my available times trying to build prototypes of these equipments. And then I'll just walk up to a farmer, just tell him, I could build this machine for you. If only you could give me this little amount. I get those amounts, I move to the people selling the materials, I make a deposit with them. Even a welding machine I didn't have. I didn't have even a cutting machine. I could not afford it. So I go to workshops who had them and just paid them hourly to make use of their equipment. So if I build the machine and I'm done with it, I wouldn't even have the money to buy the prime mover and fix on it. So I move to the farmer and say, hey, this is the machine. I finished it, but I don't have the prime mover to mount on it. So I can link you up with the person selling it. You pay him directly. If you are satisfied with it, you pay me my balance. So that's how I started. I started making threshers, making maize threshers. That's the most commonly farmed product in Plateau State here. So I started making maize threshers, and I realized people had interest in it. Before I knew, one person was coming, two people were coming. Before I knew, somebody came and said he wants to be a marketer. He'll be bringing people who will buy from me. He'll get his percentage. Before I knew, the demand was getting higher, and I need.
So Jerry, welcome back. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I sincerely apologize. The weather has been so rainy here in Jos, and the network has just been so poor.
Don't apologize. I apologize. I don't know what I'm apologizing for. I just apologize that we don't, because I know what you're talking about, Jerry. I'm a fan of Nigerian inventors, artisans, creatives, the people who the school system do not recognize, so you are one of them. And so tell me, when you came back and that story you were telling about how you just go to the farmers, you give me a bit of money, I can create a solution to your problems, I will make the machinery, and even if you can't finish it, I will give you, this is the guy who you can buy the last parts from. You pay him directly. So from there, how did you then, and also the fact that you said earlier, because I know some people are joining this conversation at this point, you actually started the company with people who, similarly to you, were talented and gifted and skillful inventors, engineers, creatives, and artisans who are not recognized in Nigeria because they don't have a degree to match. Right. Okay. So tell us, from that point when you started doing this thing with the farmers, how did you get it to where it is today?
Okay. I was just about to say, usually when I do talks like this, because of young ones listening, I always mention when they're about to start a business, they keep saying they don't have fundings for it. The key to your fundings are your character. They are your number one collateral. So at that level, all I had was my character. I just made sure that my character was just good in the society. So that really helped me a lot when I went to the microfinance bank. Without collateral, they had confidence that this guy doesn't have any dirty trace, or he doesn't have any link to anything defaulting. So they just had confidence that I could make use of the monies, even though they argued the amount I requested for. And I think I can remember the first time they just gave me 300,000. I used 300,000 to build 4 maize threshers, and when I brought the first one, I left them fighting over it, who was going to buy, the manager, the loan officer, and others. Before I knew, one of the loan officer bought it, the manager requested for his, the security man resigned his work, took a loan from them, bought one, and started commercial functions with it. So I was able to pay back the loan in a week. I paid them 300,000 back in a week, and I was able to deposit more monies in their account. So it gave them that confidence, and they began to give me higher amounts of loan. Now, one key mistake young people to make is in starting business like this, they choose the wrong partners, they choose the wrong teammates. I was really focused. These are lessons, all these things I'm saying are lessons I learned in UK, are lessons I got exposed and learned. If you have people who work because of the passion, people who work not because of the money, it's easier to progress. So as I was doing this, people kept seeing what I was doing and kept being interested. So I was focused on people who didn't have the qualifications, but had the skills, they had things to offer. So I cared less of what you studied. What could you do? What can you do? That's what I was focused on. So before I knew, we had 1 person join us, 2 people join us, 3 people join us. At the moment, we are 37. And amongst all these 37, there are only 3 people that are older than me. I'm 25 years old, and there are only 3 people who are older than me. So you can imagine the number of young, talented individuals we have in Nigeria. I think that is a total untapped world we have in Nigeria. So I just got people who were skilled, people who were passionate about it. So sometimes it gets bad that I don't have any kobos to give them as any form of allowance or their salaries, but they still understand. It's not like this guy has the money and has refused to give us. They know that if we keep pushing, it will get to a point where even our drivers will receive over 1 million. So that's just the mindset they had, and being able to transfer the dream into them, being able to transfer the vision into them, we kept pushing to this point. I'm not really good at telling stories, but I think I'll prefer it when you ask questions, then I answer them directly.
Look, you're very good at telling stories. I'm usually I don't keep quiet. I kept quiet because I'm transfixed by your story. Transfixed by your story. You know that piece where you said you came back from the UK, I can imagine everybody's disappointment in you. You went back to farming. Yeah. I know what that means. Yeah. You came from the UK and you went back to farming.
When I came back from UK, even the man that was sponsoring me was not happy at all. He was disappointed. So if I go to his house, he asked the security man to drive me away. He keeps saying, I have disappointed him. What am I coming to discuss with him? But I struggled to make him understand the academics was just not my field. I tell some people and they laugh about it. When I press hard to learn those books, my brain pains me. Not just my head. I feel sharp pains in my brain. And I just realized that I'm just reading round and round without understanding anything. I've had so much of people learning in different ways. It was in that process that I got to understand that I learn more by seeing. When I keep reading, I don't understand. When I just show me the machine, just show me the equipment for 5-10 minutes, that's all. Just take me away from there and put me in an empty workshop. I realized I was very good at it, but we didn't have those kind of educational systems. And those forms of educational systems were the informal educational system, and they are considered almost invalid. It's just like taking your son to a roadside mechanic to learn. They are not considered as a good form of education or things like that in the society. So when I realized that it was basically just fighting against the society, I was just basically trying to tear my ways around. So when I explained to him challenges I was faced with, he didn't understand. He just felt it was just laziness. I just didn't want to study. I just wanted to be fully lazing around, and I came back to Nigeria and so on. So he didn't give me more time to listen to my explanations. But after 7 months, I was recognized by American Embassy. So American Embassy saw what I was doing and felt it okay to award me. So they had a dinner in Abuja and they invited me to Abuja. And I'm usually very timid. I don't like to stay in public. So I was just seated on the high table and my head was just down. I didn't have the confidence to raise my head up and look at people. But when I finally did, I just managed and squeezed and rose my head up. And I realized it was my sponsor that was just directly next to me. He was just the person seated on my right side. He was going to be awarded that night too as someone who always supported people who had visions. So he was immediately I went to my knees and he just said, get up. You want to embarrass me? Get up. Meet me tomorrow at my house by 8. So he had the profile of the dinner of the award night, and he read about achievements we had done in 7 months. So he was amazed, he was wowed, and he called me and just said, you have my full support, I understand everything, and so on. That was when I got peace of mind, I got happiness, and so on. At that point, when I came back, I can almost say my parents disowned me. I was in this Jos, my parents were in this Jos, but we could stay over a year without even meeting. They never cared where I was. They didn't know where I was sleeping. They didn't know how I was keeping up, how I was surviving and other things. But I just knew that it is part of the stage. It is a stage I must pass through. I've read about so many people who made it in life, and I keep comparing their stories with mine. Then I see it as my story is not really, it's not difficult compared to them. So I just smile and laugh over it. I just said, in few years it will be over. I remember my father crying with tears, real tears. My dad was crying, and at some point when I came back, I was staying in his house for a short time, and he could spend the whole night praying. He would be praying and be asking God to touch my heart, and I'll be hearing him pray because he prays loud. At some point, I got tired and uncomfortable. I obstructed him praying, and I told him, you keep telling God to answer your prayers, and you want to tell God how to answer the prayer. Do you know if this is the way God is answering the prayer, by letting me drop out of school? And you keep forcing decisions into God's mind. God has allowed me drop out and come back for a purpose. If he didn't want me to drop out, he would have put it in my heart not to drop out. But since he allowed it, it could be that he's answering prayers. So I just want to plead with you, save your tears. Just watch me for 3 years. I begged him for 3 years. If he doesn't see changes, if he doesn't see differences in my life for 3 years, I'll come back fully under him. He should just direct me, just tell me anything he wants me to do. I'll go and do. But I was glad even before the first year, he was the one moving around to be telling people, this is my last born. It is my last born now. So since then, I just realized they were all happy and everybody was just relaxed about the whole thing. So I've got to understand that people really don't care about,
People don't care about what? Finish that.
People don't care about the process. People only care about the product, the success. Yeah. So I just realized that if I want to achieve something, I just have to go for it. A lot of people will just feel it won't work because it's not a common thing. Everyone is scared to try something new. But once you try something new, I know so many young people have started doing things because of my story. So I've just got to understand that basically all you need to do is just to push, is just to go forward, and one day it will be a success.
So your company, Benny Agro Technology, is barely 3 years old, isn't it? And you've already how old is the company?
About 4 years now. About 4 years now.
You have about 4 years. And in that time, you have built a prototype supercar. You have built tons of agro equipment. You also, particularly for COVID, you built the hand wash, the foot operated. I want one of those, by the way. I wish I could have one of those. I mean, there's one in Asura, and then you also built a ventilator. Speak to me particularly concerning COVID. You know, what your thoughts, what the visions were in your head. You know, what you thought you could do to solve the problems around COVID.
All right. Just to shed a little more light, Benny is the modern name, and under Benny, there's Benny Automobile. If you look closely, they have different logos. Benny Automobile is where we are focused on manufacturing vehicles in Nigeria. Benny Agro is where we are focused on solving agricultural solutions, problems in Nigeria. Then the third one is Benny Foods. Benny Foods is just focused on adding value to harvested products and processing them into finished products and so on. So with the COVID, there was basically no company in operations because of the lockdown. So you just had to close down, except you were doing something relating to the pandemic, to the virus. And we've had quite level of customer base. So we kept getting emails of our customers. Hey, Benny, we feel you guys are so creative and you could do something about these ventilators that is being talked about. I just have to be honest to you. I never knew what was called a ventilator. I had never had that name, ventilator. I got the first email, the second email, the first call, second call. I just said, hey, people believe so much in us, more than we even expect. If they are saying we should build ventilators, come, my teammates, come, let's sit up and find out what this ventilator is. We all didn't know what a ventilator was. So we went on Google, we saw what a ventilator was, and we really didn't see anything difficult in that thing, and we felt we could build it. So we started doing sketches. There was lockdown, but I just called the few technicians that were close to where I lived. So we met together and we just started drawing out sketches, coming up with designs and possibilities of how we could make it. But when we came up with the decisions, we didn't have the fundings to make it. So we just wrote a proposal to our state government for support, financial support, to see how we could just make a prototype. Then if it's tested and it passes all the tests, then more of them could be made. And at the same time as we're doing this, we kept thinking about this hand wash, and we just thought of the conventional way of washing hands. You use your hands to turn on the tap, you wash the hands, use the clean hands to turn it off. So
yes.
by doing that, you just contact back any living organisms that you may have deposited on that. So we just felt there could be a better way of doing this. What about using your foot to match on something that will dispense? So we came up with sketches, and yeah, we got a design. For those ones, it didn't really cost much, so we felt we could build a prototype. So we came up with a prototype and shot a video and just uploaded on our social media, just as normal as we do on other products. We were amazed the tones and tones of calls that kept coming for those equipment. We really didn't even expect people were going to take it any serious. Again, I want to mention, we saw this pandemic as a platform where we could save lives, where we could contribute to Nigeria. So when we came up with the idea, amongst our teammates, they said, let's enclose this equipment. Let it be closed that you don't see the mechanisms in it. You just see the functionality. But amongst us, we debated again. We said, Benny is here to create a path. Benny is here to motivate people, and we want to save lives. Let's leave the technicalities of it open, revealed, so any technical person that sees it could duplicate it. Let's save lives. We're not after the cash. Let's save lives with this. So we left it open. And I just mentioned this because I'm glad somebody did it. He picked the concept, he designed it, he was marketing, he sent us a video to help him market too. That's the sweetest thing that's happened to me throughout this year. The video he sent me back, and at the end of the video, he gave credit to Benny. I was really happy. I just felt this is what we are meant to do. If we spark up this competition, a lot of people will be producing same thing. Then the next focus will be making it finer, fine-tuning it, and the next thing will be making it cheaper. And that's how technology will spread within Nigeria. So I just felt that's what Benny should be doing at the same time. So back to the ventilator.
That's such an incredible thing you just talked about, Benny, Jerry, because that's against what is done in other parts of the world. Once somebody, invents something, they put a patent, and even where people's lives are at stake, they will still insist on selling it for the highest amount of money. What you just described here is the future of the world. And I hope that other people your generation, because you're only 25, understand what this means. That things like healthcare should not be business. That's what you just did there. That we should make it as cheap and as accessible as possible for the largest majority of people. My only prayer is that all of a sudden may I become like your dad. Please, God, give us more Jerrys in this country. I have some questions coming in. If you have questions for Jerry, I've got only a few minutes to ask him those questions. I think there's one question here. Let me find it. People are making comments about you and so on. Let's see. Wow. Okay, somebody says, wow, Jerry, you are an inspiration. What are some of your current challenges? How do we move this vision to the next level? Change needs to start from here, I think he said. So he wants to know, Adejowa wants to know what your challenges are now and what can be done to support what you are doing so it can get to the next level. That's the first question.
Okay. Are you going to ask more of them, or do I just answer this directly?
Answer them one by one. Answer this first.
Okay. So what are my challenges? I can summarize everything to finances. Finances is really difficult financing is difficult for what we are doing. Let me start from the lowest form. It's difficult to find your family, your loved ones who will actually believe in you and put some monies in what you are doing. Even when they do, they keep looking for one excuse or the other. I'm sure it's the more we grow, the more people actually believe. The next is the microfinance. When you get microfinance banks, the amounts they can give you is highly limited. For just one tool, maybe just an electric furnace we would want in our factory could cost an average of 80 million naira. The microfinance bank may only be able to give you 3 million naira. And with 3 million naira, you can't buy the equipment, then you are indebted. So it just becomes more of a trap to you. So it doesn't really work out. When you go to commercial banks will be willing to give you, but may want to charge you 25 to 30% interest rate. And then you don't even have moratorium period. Maybe they may just give you 1 month or 2 months. When you buy this electric furnace, this laser cutter, whatsoever equipment it is, it may spend 3 months before it gets to Nigeria. And when it gets to Nigeria, you need maybe a month to install it. You need another month to understand how to make use of it. You need some months to produce prototypes and even market it to the point where you start getting some cash flow to pay them back. So they may say, as they give you the money, you start paying the first month. Where will you have the money to pay them in the first month? And you pay with about 30% interest. It becomes too high. The next is when you think about the federal government. I love to say it real. I love to say it the way it is. If you go to the Bank of Industry, if you go to the Bank of Agriculture, to the CBN, most times, if you don't have someone who will push for you there, you really have a big hill to climb on. It's quite difficult. And when you finally make your way, the request for collaterals almost twice the amount you are requesting for. I'm 25 years old. I'm looking for, let's say I'm looking for 1 billion naira. I'm required to bring a collateral of 2 billion. If I have that collateral, I'll sell it. I'll sell it and use the money for what I'm doing. So these platforms don't enable you get even without collateral. So it becomes difficult. So basically, financing is one of the most difficult challenge. The next challenge is for my teammates. They are not really as exposed as I am. I want to get them exposed. No companies, no institutions around Nigeria where they are not available, where I could easily take them for some internship, for some exposure visitations or things like that. If they need to get exposed, basically it's outside Nigeria. Financing them to go outside Nigeria becomes difficult. Platforms to learn from. At the moment, we are just fixed to the internet. The internet is the only teacher we have. We just learn from the internet, just ask Google questions and other things. So I think somehow, to summarize, those are the basic challenge at the moment.
I hear you. I mean, what I would like to do is actually this interview, cut it and send it to some people in government. You know, the way I feel almost like start saying that we want to start a petition, you know, and say the Nigerian government must put, you know, some sort of support. And it doesn't have to be government. This is a conversation to have with him also. You know, I think that there are lots of people in Nigeria who want to invest in viable ideas, and this is one viable people, and this is one of it. Because what I see happening down the line is other countries will see what this is. Already, it's interesting that the first people to actually award you were the Americans. So these are things to think about as a people ourselves, and then decide who we want to be. I mean, there are a few questions, other questions I think for you. Most of it, of course, is about how we can help you, you know, where we can, people are saying you are 1 in a million. There are comments. I'm thinking to find a question. Where in UK did you learn about agriculture? I mean, I must say that you didn't learn about agriculture in the UK. You come from a farming community and family in Nigeria. So where did you go to the UK? They wanted to know. You've already answered that question. A lot of comments. I think people are really inspired by you. But I think that we need to move from inspiration to action, because this is the example of what we're talking about that young people must do. You are 25. Almost everybody, the people working with you are over 30. Some of them are women, aren't they? Because I saw some pictures. Are some of them women?
Yeah,
Jerry, can you hear me? Some of them
we
are
have seven. We have 7 women in our team.
Okay, so you have 7 women in your team, and everybody except 3 are younger than you. So that means they're under 25. These are people, I mean, this is just to scratch the surface of what's available for Nigeria. So this is a prototype. If Nigeria gets behind you, we can actually use this as a prototype to replicate it across board. So the question, somebody's asking a question, what kind of agro processing products is he developing? Ayo wants to know what kind of agro processing products you're developing?
Agro products, actually, I can almost say we are unlimited. At the moment, we produce only on demand. So we design and we produce based on the customer's request. But at the moment, we do equipment that has to do with cultivation, planting, weeding, harvesting, threshing, and processing. The processing includes Irish potato processing, sweet potato, cassava, yam, rice processing, and even making of poultry feed, animal feed, and a couple of others. The only aspects we've really not gone into at the moment is oil extractions. And it's just because oil extraction equipment requires certain level of precision, and we don't have those equipment that will enable us get those precision. So we just put that on a hold for the moment. But all other aspects, majority of them, we do them.
So basically what you're saying is, if anybody can tell you what their problem is, you can visualize and create a solution.
That's all. That's it.
I pick a number,
that's
right? Yeah, I get that. I understand that. Okay, I mean, we've run out of time for this conversation. I want to say to you, Jerry, I'm very inspired by you. I would like to help you in whatever ways I can. I will call you after this. I'm very good at, once I find something that I will get my teeth into, I won't let it go. And I know that once we do these conversations, other people will reach out to you to talk. I think that as many more people as possible that knows about you, as much more momentum we can build. I have no doubt that nothing can stop you. I have no doubt. I know that. What I want is that Nigeria should benefit from you, because if we don't, others will. All right? I want to say thank you to you again for joining us. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.